They're rolling up in Bentleys, dripping in jewels, and dropping $40K a month on personal glam squads. But all the money in the world isn't enough to keep some Real Housewives from landing behind bars. In March 2021, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Shah was arrested by Homeland Security Investigations special agents right after she fled from the Utah-based reality show's set. Shah and her assistant, Stuart Smith, were charged with wire fraud over what was described as a telemarketing scam targeting seniors and other vulnerable groups. According to a press release from the New York U.S. Attorney's Office, the scam involved selling what were purported to be business opportunities. However, Manhattan U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss clarified that these were, quote, fraudulent schemes motivated by greed to steal victims' money. Shah pleaded guilty and in January 2023 was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison. Shah said at her sentencing, "Reality TV has nothing to do with reality. I am deeply sorry for what I've done. My actions have hurt innocent people." She also promised to repay $6.5 million to the victims she'd scammed after her release from the prison, just before reporting to a Texas prison to begin her sentence, which was ultimately reduced by 1 year. She was interviewed on video by her attorney and explained she'd been in denial about her guilt.
I was lying to myself because I didn't want to accept that I had done these things.
Former child actor and the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Kim Richards is a two-timer when it comes to arrests. Her first came in April 2015, when the heavily inebriated reality star was arrested after a booze-fueled altercation in the Beverly Hills Hotel's Polo Lounge. She was charged with 3 misdemeanors, including public intoxication and battery of one of the cops who took her to jail. Richards avoided serving any time by cutting a plea deal. She received 3 years of probation and was ordered to attend 52 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and perform 30 days of community service. She was also banned by the hotel. As she explained during an appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, she'd admittedly downed a few drinks before showing up at the Polo Lounge just as it was closing, and then refused to budge. She recalled, "He said, 'If you don't leave, we're calling the police,' and I really thought he was joking, and he called the police, and one thing led to another." Later that same year, she was arrested a second time while attempting to exit a Los Angeles Target store with 2 shopping carts loaded with merchandise she had not paid for. Once again, she entered a plea deal, receiving the exact same punishment from her last offense: probation, AA, and community service. Jules Wainstein joined the Real Housewives of New York City in 2016, but left the show after just 1 season amid her divorce from husband Michael Wainstein. It seems their separation took its toll, for in 2020 she was arrested in Boca Raton, Florida, after she allegedly got physical with her estranged husband in full view of their 2 children during a custody exchange. Afterward, Michael was granted a protective order against her. Michael's attorney, Morgan Richardson, addressed the arrest in a statement to People, saying, "This is a serious situation reflecting Ms. Wainstein's increasingly reckless behavior that unfortunately took place in front of the kids. The children were released to Michael's custody yesterday, and he is most concerned about protecting them. Michael is exploring all of his legal options at this time." The Sun offered further details, claiming she was brandishing a baseball bat and scratched and punched her ex's face. The restraining order was eventually dropped, and their divorce was settled later that year. According to Us Weekly, Michael asked the judge to order Jules to submit to drug testing after the attack. Countess Luann de Lesseps was a fixture on The Real Housewives of New York City since the show's debut in 2008. However, in 2017, she got in a little trouble while at a hotel in Florida while she was in the process of divorcing her second husband, Tom D'Agostino. That year, during the early hours of Christmas Eve, a security guard at a Palm Beach hotel reported that de Lesseps and a friend were allegedly trespassing in the room of another guest, sneaking in while a maid turned down the bed. According to a police report obtained by E! News, the women were slurring their speech and smelled of alcohol. When the guard asked them to exit the room, de Lesseps' friend listened, but de Lesseps herself did not. Police were called, and in the ensuing chaos, de Lesseps struck an officer in the face and chest. She was handcuffed and proceeded to furiously fight back, kicking the door and drunkenly threatening to kill the officers as they attempted to get her into their vehicle. She was hit with several charges, including resisting arrest and disorderly intoxication. After sobering up, she apologized for her behavior. She got off with probation, but was rearrested in 2019 for violating the terms of that probation by testing positive for alcohol. The judge added extra conditions to her existing probation sentence, including regular counseling.
But I paid very dearly for the last year for one very big mistake.
NeNe Leakes has been a fan favorite on The Real Housewives of Atlanta since the series first aired in 2008. And she's also experienced some brushes with the law. In 2014, Star magazine reported on some of her prior arrests, from back when she was still going by her birth name, Lenethea Johnson. The outlet obtained court documents indicating that Leakes had been charged with 3 felony counts and 1 misdemeanor dating back to 1992, and that the charge was for theft of services from a phone company. Leakes avoided jail time by agreeing to a plea deal, pleading guilty to all 4 counts. In exchange, she was sentenced to 2 years of probation and also ordered to repay $2,650, presumably the value of what she had allegedly stolen. However, that wasn't the end of her legal problems. The outlet also reported that she was subsequently arrested 3 more times for violating the terms of her parole. Once her criminal past had been exposed by the tabloid, Leakes responded with a message she posted on X, then known as Twitter, writing, 22 years ago, I was lost, scared, trapped, and a single mom. I care enough about myself to change my life, and you can too. With God, anything is possible. Sonja Morgan joined the Real Housewives of New York City in the franchise's 3rd season in 2010. She remained a stalwart on the show until the network ditched her and many of her co-stars after season 13. She didn't leave the franchise entirely, though, since she and fellow Roni ex-cast member Luann de Lesseps returned to Bravo for the 2023 spin-off Luann and Sonja, Welcome to Crappy Lake. Like her Crappy Lake co-star, Morgan has also endured the experience of being placed under arrest. For Morgan, that took place in 2010, when she was arrested in Southampton on suspicion of drunk driving. She was also charged with a variety of other driving offenses, such as not wearing a seatbelt and failing to stop at a stop sign. She ultimately entered a guilty plea to a misdemeanor charge of driving while intoxicated. Following her arrest, Morgan didn't exactly retreat in shame. According to Page 6, the very next night, Morgan attended a soiree celebrating the launch of a new TV series. However, witnesses reported that she behaved rather tamely and attended the event alongside her attorney. Porsha Williams became a member of the Real Housewives of Atlanta cast in 2012, joining in the 5th season and quickly becoming one of the franchise's most popular personalities. During the summer of 2020, Williams was among the many people to take to the streets on behalf of the Black Lives Matter movement, protesting the high-profile deaths of Black people who lost their lives during altercations with police. In July of that year, Williams was arrested alongside over 80 other people during a protest over the death of Breonna Taylor at the home of Kentucky Attorney General Danielle Cameron. The following month, Williams was arrested a second time at another protest. She was reportedly charged with disorderly conduct and obstruction of a highway.
I need to be with my people, with our allies, side by side, and fighting for real change.
For Williams, being arrested was a small price to pay. She explained to Elle, I have a platform, and I felt compelled to use it to bring awareness to what is happening to Black folks in America and the need for us to take action in America. The Real Housewives of Miami made its debut in 2011, introducing 6 more distinct personalities into the Bravo franchise. And not unlike the other Real Housewives series, some of its stars have been placed under arrest. In the case of Marysol Patton, her arrest came prior to the launch of the show. Shortly before the premiere of The Real Housewives of Miami, E! News reported that both she and her mother had been nabbed in separate DUI busts. The spokeswoman for the Florida State Attorney's Office, Terry Chavez, explained to the outlet that Patton's arrest occurred about a year earlier, in January 2010, after police pulled her over due to suspicions of drunk driving. Patton reportedly pleaded no contest to the less severe charge of reckless driving, which prevented her from serving any time in the slammer. However, she did not get off completely unscathed. In addition to having her mugshot taken, Patton was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine and reimburse $581 in court costs. Regular viewers of the Real Housewives universe will probably notice how much alcohol serves to fuel the assorted shenanigans. For this reason, it's not particularly surprising that DUI arrests are not uncommon with the women who appear in the franchise. The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Brandi Glanville ran into the exact issue before she'd even joined the cast. According to TMZ, the year before her debut on the show, Glanville was pulled over by cops for a traffic violation while she drove on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. When the officer spoke with her, they allegedly smelled alcohol and gave her a field sobriety test, which she reportedly failed. She was then placed under arrest. Glanville was subsequently hit with 2 misdemeanor charges for driving under the influence and driving with a blood alcohol level exceeding 0.08%. Like so many other Real Housewives alums, she chose to accept a plea deal by pleading no contest to the latter charge and avoiding a potential 6-month sentence. Instead, she was placed on probation for 36 months, ordered to pay a $390 fine, and had to attend a 3-month alcohol education program. Danielle Staub was a cast member during seasons 1 and 2 of The Real Housewives of New Jersey and proceeded to reappear as a friend to other cast members in a few subsequent seasons after her exit from the show. Staub's checkered past came back to haunt her when an obscure book called Cop Without a Badge emerged in 2010 that told the story of her ex-husband, a former FBI informant. Among various sordid allegations, the book alleged that she was arrested in an FBI bust involving a cocaine-related kidnapping. As Staub explained to People, she was met with 17 charges for being an accessory in the crime, though she insisted she was simply involved with the wrong people and was a victim of circumstance. However, legal documents surrounding her arrest painted a slightly different story. According to that information, Staub was allegedly employed by an escort service at the time of her arrest and was charged and convicted on a felony count of extortion. She was reportedly sentenced to undergo drug treatment and had to submit to weekly urinalysis drug testing for 6 months, a period that was subsequently extended. Addressing her criminal background, Staub was adamant that the past was the past and she'd long since moved on. She explained, "I haven't gotten as much as a traffic ticket in all these years. I was arrested. What is the big deal? What I have done since then, isn't that more important? How I've grown from it?"
They're trying to make me hurt and feel horrible about things that I've already paid my debt to society.
Kelly Bensimon became a member of the Real Housewives extended family when she joined the second season of the Real Housewives of New York City. However, she didn't stick around long, as she was one of several women axed from the series in 2011. The same year as her Housewives debut, Bensimon found herself in some legal peril when she was nabbed by police after allegedly assaulting her then-fiancé, Nick Stefanov. An NYPD spokesperson explained to People that she was arrested the morning of March 5th after punching her fiancé, injuring him under his left eye, and that she was then taken into custody for misdemeanor assault. Meanwhile, Bensimon's lawyer told the publication she'd entered a plea of not guilty. She was ultimately sentenced to a mere 2 days of community service, and while the judge in the case did permit her to see Stefanov, he specifically prohibited her from attacking him or making him feel threatened. Considering Stefanov and Bensimon were seen together as recently as 2021, it seems that the attack didn't end their relationship. However, the pair must have eventually split, as Bensimon got engaged to financier Scott Littner in August 2023. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic abuse, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also find more information, resources, and support at their website.